Hello, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of Micability Podcast, where we amplify voices, share ideas, and spark conversations that shape an inclusive Nigeria. I'm your host, Lynn Aguncha, and I'm not here alone. I'm here with my colleague and my friend, Mr. Kilax.
Yeah, good afternoon, Lynn. Good afternoon, our guest. My name is Adelu Kilanko, and I'm happy to be here today. Thank you.
I know that as usual, I probably look forward to Mr. George introducing himself, but due to some, I wouldn't say strange reasons. So Mr. George will be joining us today. Of course, we'll be there for the next episode.
Right. That's fine.
So today's conversation is actually one I've actually looked forward to because it's deeply personal for our guest and it's nationally sought for, if I have to use that word, because it's something that affects every person with disability, even those without disabilities. Inclusive education. And we are here with our guest. She's actually the perfect person to handle this because she's passionate about inclusive education in Nigeria. She's a person with physical disability and she's the founder of We Are Special Foundation. I don't know if I got that right.
Yeah.
Okay, her name is Shamsiyyah Umar. Please, if I murdered your name, forgive me. Hi, Shamsiyyah.
Hi, Lynn.
Welcome to Micability Podcast.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Hi, like she mentioned, my name is Shamsiyyah Umar, and thank you for not bothering my name.
That's good.
And We Are Special Foundation. I got that right.
Yeah, you got it right. Thank you.
Okay, so let's have something more relaxing, right? So your journey towards advocacy, maybe inclusive education advocacy or any advocacy for persons with disabilities, were to be a movie, what would be the title?
If it were to be a movie, it would definitely be We Are Special, right? Because that name strikes a lot in my heart. It's actually the popular name for the organization. The name of the organization in full is the Special Physically Challenged Care Foundation. But the Special Physically Challenged Care Foundation. But there's this sense of belonging that we feel that we are special. Yes. So that's why We Are Special. And if I were to have a movie about my life or anything, it's definitely going to be We Are Special.
Okay, so I'll probably Mr. Jordan would have criticized me if I had called persons with disabilities physically challenged. Is that an acceptable term?
It is actually.
Not persons with physical disabilities? Physical challenges.
Physical
Yeah, physical challenges. Yeah.
Okay. I'll go with that. I'll ask Mr. Jordan after now. It doesn't come for me. But what inspired your advocacy? What inspired your would I say the launch of We Are Special Foundation? What was the disease? Is this something that just happened or there was an experience that led to it?
Yeah, definitely. So I wasn't born with a disability. I acquired the disability at the age of 11 due to an accident. An 18-year-old boy stole his father's car, locked him in the room, and I was just going to get my mom oranges, and apparently the father reported the car missing. So the police were already chasing and looking after the car. So when they saw him coming, they started chasing him, and it was a one-way road. So he took a different turn, and it's a story now. It's over 16 years. And it was very bad because I can remember them packing part of my legs in a carton. Yeah, so it was a long journey for me, and it was good at the beginning because hospitals, rounds, and so on. I would say good. I was in physical pain, but I had the support of my family, right? But the day it struck me that something has really happened to me was when I resumed back to school, right? That's being between other people in the society, not just being at home, getting in the car, going places, seeing them going out to the world, and then they looked at me differently. I remember staying in the school for like 2 terms without a friend, right? So the student would look at me and they would run away or shy away from me, and I felt, okay, what is wrong now? Because I was using crutches then, 2 hands crutches. So what is wrong with me now? And I would go home, cry to my mom. I don't have friends, and I used to love having friends when I was younger. So it continued that way. it became like outside my family, I'm not having that support. So I struggled through life, I struggled through school, I struggled to belong, right? And going to university, in a public university, I found it very hard because you could see all the lecture theaters and you have to walk up panting. I'm an international relations student. I have to go to a different faculty to take an elective in French and Arabic.
Okay.
So walking that distance was a lot for me. I would always get to class last and I would sit down a few minutes, I have to go back. It was a lot for me. It was a struggle. And I sat down to myself one day. By the way, I have a classmate, right? I'm not even sure if he eventually graduated because we stopped seeing him. It was always different semesters. So for him, Abaka was on wheelchair and he couldn't see.
You couldn't see as well.
He couldn't see as well. It was full for him. And then if I was complaining of going up that staircase, when I see him,
you're encouraged.
Yeah, I get motivated and I'm like, how does he manage this? It's a lot for him, right? And he kept missing semesters upon semesters, and it just came to me one day that why can't I be the voice for those who do not have voices, right? Because opportunity to go out of this, they call it diversity to adversity, right? What about him that eventually stopped going to school, right? What about those that do not even get to the university level? Those are the secondary school. So mind you, my secondary school was 3-story building. That was where my class is. And I have to work with my projects. I remember having this Elizarov device. It was this round going to learn to aim my own. And I'll use that thing to go up that staircase. So I saw these things as challenges. And I had the support, I had to push myself. But then it's always about what about those who do not have that strength.
That support, that strength. So what university did you attend?
Covered the Berlin University.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I just would have been so proud.
I know yes.
I know, right? Yeah, so that's generally what gave birth to We Are Special. I just wanted to every person with disabilities to be at the community where they are accepted, where they won't be seen as someone different, right? And this is me coming out to tell maybe more than my circle about this. The rejection I got from friends because, I was still a child. I attempted suicide 3 times.
Wow.
Yes. It's one of my books that I recently published, Diary of a Bleeding Rose, right?
Diary
of a bleeding rose.
Okay. Bleeding rose.
Bleeding rose. So I'm a rose that was bleeding.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the only time I actually mentioned in the book that I attempted that. So it's all about that stigma in the society, that lack of acceptance. It's a lot for persons with disabilities.
So this is what I want to ask. These 3 times you contemplated suicide, what was the trigger? I mean, what led to that? What happened that okay, you are going to end this?
All right. So one of it I would say was a physical pain I felt.
Okay.
So my body was healing, and I felt I was making progress. Right. So when I remember just laying down on my back for like almost a year without even sitting down. Right. So I went through that. I felt I went through enough pain. And I was ready. I went back to school, and it was still, I think, the whole festive period. And I used to be this child. That's why my mom sent me in the first place. I am very handy. I like helping around the house. So sitting down without disability made me, I felt useless, right? So I got up that morning and I wanted to make a cup of tea for myself. And I fell down. Unconscious. And I had only one bone holding my leg, and that bone broke again. Yeah, so I had to go back to the hospital, that process again, that pain I felt. And when I came back home, I was like, oh my God, I am tired. I can't have it anymore. Let me just do that everybody gets time, because I could see my family being having that pain within that you could see like crying and stuff like that. Am I the reason why people are unhappy? Better I just leave so that they can be happy. Secondly, even though she apologized and feels terrible about it, I had a friend.
Okay.
We were friends, and for some reason she stopped being friends with me. And there was a day I just went to the school to visit her, and she said all sorts of things to me. And she said she can't be friends with, in her word, it's in Hausa. And she was like, but you might go in her or when she the kiba, so it seems like you're not even great from friends with you with this disabled girl, right? So I cried and cried and cried and cried. And mind you, then she was maybe one of the friends I had, friends I had at that point, right? So I felt since she's not friends with me, it's the end of the world for me. So right, that's the second one. And the third one is practically almost the same thing, right? I had a group of friends in university. I was friends with them for a while. And I had a friend, a best friend. I used to call her a best friend. He came from Abuja to this area together and kind of introduced them to each other. And they kind of left me aside. They became a clique of friends, and I had nobody in the university. I was now just alone. I was going from this clique of friends. I felt I didn't belong to anyone. I know all those university life, everybody has this group of friends they work with. It's always you want to have your own, right? And then when we came back and a friend of ours from this Abuja had a conversation with her. Why did you stop being friends with Shamsiyyah? And she's like, no, she slows us down when we're going for classes. And she's too local for us to hang around with her.
Too local.
Yeah, so when I was in university, I was very modest. I was on hijab.
Okay.
Yeah,
Muslims as
yeah, they were Muslims as well. So it was all these university babe. We just tied the scarf, we didn't wear the hijab. Yeah, and to me, I maintained that standard for myself, right? So it became like I was local because I was dressing in that setting where and I was slowing them down when they are going for classes, and stuff like that. So that was actually the third one. I was very heartbroken on that, and I'm playing because I was a child.
Yes.
I was
now.
a child. Yeah.
But you're happy now that you did commit suicide.
No.
Anyways, just to ask, beyond the technical languages, what does inclusive education really mean? Because I think I have my own definition, but I want to hear from you.
Okay, we know that education is a fundamental right of every person and every child, right?
Yeah.
So inclusive education for me is a process whereby everyone has access to this education without any barriers, like in terms of accessibility, in terms of assistive learning materials, in terms of quality curriculum to have to impact that knowledge on children, right? So inclusive education for me, because the reason why we are putting it inclusive education is because we want everyone to be carried along. So for me, it's having no one being left behind. And I don't just call it inclusive education. I like adding the quality because because when we just say education, yes. I like saying inclusive quality education because there are a lot of people that will tell you they have education, but it's just in paper. Yes, right? So inclusive quality education for me is everyone having equal rights to education.
I actually want to have this clarification. So I always argue that special schools don't encourage inclusive education. So why do we have School of the Blind? How about having them in the
mainstream school?
Mainstream them into the normal schools that we have, persons without disabilities. So why do we have special school for the blind, school for the deaf? Does that encourage inclusive education? Like, is it part of what we have in the policy, or is it part of what should be the standard for inclusive education?
Yeah, so what we have in the policy is mainstreaming persons with disabilities in these schools, right? I am one person that advocates strongly for mainstreaming persons with disabilities in these schools because in the first place, if we don't mainstream them, I'll put myself out there as an example. I just gave you a short story. Right? If those students at that school were used to seeing persons like me in that school, I won't have to pass through all that stigma I went through.
That's true.
Right. So why would you maybe now in government schools they have special education units, which I also do not encourage because it's you giving a different building for persons with mainstream them in that classroom. And that's why the policy says I would quote from Provision Act of 2018, Section 17. So the person with disability has the right to an unfiltered education, right? So that means you have to make provision for these infrastructures for the students. These technologies they need, maybe with magnified devices, sign language interpreter. Let it be harmonized in the classroom.
Special schools that we have, it's not necessarily for persons with disabilities. It's usually
very impaired and the blind.
So what we are saying now, you agree with me that those schools shouldn't even be in existence in the first.
Yes.
Should actually have them in the mainstream schools and exactly for it. You should have them in the normal schools, not having special school for the blind, special school for the deaf, special. I know many of them online, like the students get to dance and.
For me, I think most important the school for the deaf shouldn't be there, right?
Okay.
We should make sign language interpretation be a concourse in our school. Let everyone learn sign language. Learn to communicate with these people because they are in the school of the deaf. They have their special teachers, military teachers with sign language interpretation, and they finish the school right. What if they go out with the community?
How would they blend in?
Yes.
But on the other hand, I'm also thinking that. So, for instance, even though autism is not, we've not included it into the disability clusters that we have in Nigeria, or intellectual disability, but for those kind of pupils, young pupils, you might want to slowness in the assimilation. We used to say that special school is not needed in that kind of situation.
Therefore, intellectual disability encourages special field.
Okay.
And the reason why I said Mayfield is because she made mention, for example, School of the Deaf. Because these people, they do not have any intellectual disability. They can comprehend. The only difference is when a teacher is writing, for example, in a book, we can see, but they can vividly hear you.
That's true.
They have the formats where they use the braille for writing. And then the person with hearing, yes, we can have our teachers being trained in this languages, right? Where they're in the same class and this can happen. I will use this as an example, even if I encourage the special schools. But you know there are these children, some of the students that have the autism as you mentioned, but it's not on a high level. Yes. There's a training we recently did on disability tech, that's what it's called. It's on technology. And one of the students actually has autism and he's KFAS, but it's not on a high level. It's a very low level autism. And he comprehended well.
Okay.
Yes, and he's mainstreamed in that school with other students, even though we were told by the students that he's being stigmatized, people push him away and stuff like that. We tried to talk to the students about that. But we could see the level of his comprehension. He was doing really well, right? And we have students with partial blindness, right?
Oh, good.
Yes, really. And we were able to train them on this tech essentials and even graphic design for some of them. So I'm saying that it can actually happen. When we have people with certain disability being mainstreamed in their schools, it can happen, except if that intellectual disability is on a high level. Take for example, cerebral palsy. You know,
to that because
cerebral palsy is on a high level, yes. So you can have that special schools.
So persons with cerebral palsy, right? Are they supposed to be in school at all?
So you'll be shocked to know that even cerebral palsy has stages.
Okay.
It has stages.
Yeah.
I know of Hanifa. She has cerebral palsy. She's in Lagos and she's an author. She wrote a book. She's a public speaker. Yes.
Yes. Cerebral palsy has levels, but there are some that it's. I know of a lady actually online has this half of her body, right? And the way she speaks, there's this kind of interference when she talks, and she admits that I'm a person with cerebral palsy and all that. But then I've visited a cerebral palsy where most of them, like all of them, multiple I didn't see anybody that could. Some of them are even blind. Cerebral palsy, they are blind. They can't talk. They can't walk. They can't move. They can't. There are some that can sit. Others can even just have to be on the bed. So at that level, are they supposed to? Is this inclusive education thing for them?
Right, so that's where now the health aspect comes in, right? You have to have certain level of brain comprehensions, right? So you know some of the cerebral palsy, when they have seizures, it actually affects their brains, right? So there are people with cerebral palsy you cannot enroll in school at all.
Persons with Down syndrome, do they comprehend as well?
I can't say much about that. I think there's a level to Down syndrome also where
it has levels as well.
All these intellectual disabilities, they have levels, right? It's a diagnosis and they have different. So I'm not so in depth on that. Yeah, but I have someone I follow. She's a caregiver mother and she educates people a lot about this. Zara Unscripted. So these things have levels. So cerebral palsy is just a name, kind of disability, right? But in between or under cerebral palsy, we have levels of that, and then the diagnosis. So it depends on the diagnosis a child has. We have a child with cerebral palsy that cannot even go to school
at all.
Because it's more like he's not even aware sometimes of his existence and setting place because of that seizure they have.
So these National Policy on Inclusive Education 2023. So what is the difference between what we had before and the revised edition? What is the difference in effort? What has changed? I saw stakeholders working tirelessly. Revised version. This
inclusive education. Okay, so for me, because I would speak solely from my own experience, what I feel has been changed is the cross-sector collaboration. That's one thing that works for me. However, we can do better, right? Because there's this policy, and in Nigeria and most of the world, the problem we have is in terms of implementation, right? I would suggest that in as much as there's this cross-sector collaboration, maybe from the federal, state government, even civil society organizations like us, the school, the parents, everybody is involved in this, right? So what we should do from the federal part, I would suggest a periodic maybe review of the implementation of these policies. It's not just that we make policy and we just stop it, we assume it has been taken up. Push through. Right. So I think periodical review, when you say review now, it's not left for you to check if the states have actually abided by these certain policies, strategies. Have they employed it? Because I'll use an example in terms of climate, but I enjoyed working on that project, right? It was a joy for me. It's fascinating for you to see something that came out of Paris Agreement. That's the NAP and NDCs, right? And then Nigeria created its own National Adaptation Plan of Action, and nationally determined contribution. And then we were on this project to create something unique called LAPA for Nasarawa State. Right? It's a strategy.
So you're from Nasarawa State?
Yes, I am.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, so because we saw that, and then the people who worked with the project saw that the NAP is too robust for it to create a solution, a climate-specific solution to a certain state in Nigeria. And because different parts of Nigeria has different
climate peculiarity. That's correct.
So working on that project, that strategy, best way for what we have in Nasarawa in terms of waste and flooding, it was exciting. So why can't we employ something like that? but federal.
Yeah.
States should create a specific inclusive education policy that best aligns with their states, right?
That's true.
Have
That's
the
true.
local governments go down to the grassroots, what's it called now, advocacy,
Yes.
how, yes. And then the schools too should be involved in terms of inviting this SBM, training them, SBMC, that's the school-based management.
Management, yeah.
Those are then people at the community that can take it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct.
So, in as much as the review covers the cross-border collaboration, but I think we should do more in terms of that aspect.
So thank you very much, Shamsiyyah. But Ms. Akila Akoye, let's be more realistic. Let's be very realistic. Okay? The number of private schools in Nigeria are much more than the government schools.
I was going to get to that.
Much more than the government schools. That's one.